So I talked before about social skills being an area of challenge for these students and developing those. I'm often staggered by what students don't know and the social norms that they're just not aware of and that they don't pick up from. I took one of the older groups we took to the post office and they had to stand in a queue at the post office. I'm not quite sure what post offices are like here or mail services are like here, but there's often a queue back home. And the British are famous for queuing. We do it really well. In fact, if you go to Wimbledon and you queue, you actually get a guide to queuing. I mean, that's literally, it's like a national sport for some reason. But you have all these lovely, members of the public in the queue at the post office. And then you get so this is the queue here, they're all lined up. And then you get the deaf student who comes and stands right here behind them, and then signing. And then they stand in the middle of everybody and sign, blocking the whole corridor for everybody else. So there's a lot of education around. That's not perhaps the best place for you to stand, etc. And there was one morning, Laura, my speech and language colleague, she comes into work by train. And she comes from quite far away, as we both do, but she commutes by train. And one morning she said she got off at the station, and she was like, there was somebody right in the middle of the escalator. So back home we keep left on the escalator. Is it keep left? I'm getting confused now. Yeah, we keep left on the escalator going down. So that obviously those in a rush can get past us, and all the rest of it. No, not this one child. He's like this in the middle. And all these commuters behind, and Laura apparently just spotted this and was smiling to herself. She didn't embark at that point on a mission to try and correct him. So there's lots of social skills in the groups that we do. When we're working on the life skills, there's always a social skills element to it, always, every single time. So we start with group rules and communication rules, things that they need to sit up properly, they need to look at each other when they're signing, because they don't half the time. And they need to wait for one another to stop signing before they start signing. And particularly if we've done something like making a drink or making a sandwich, we'll always incorporate a social part at the end. When they're taking their sandwiches round for the staff to eat, funnily enough, Laura and I are never the guinea pigs for that part of the assessment. We always pull in other members of staff. On the guys that actually we're familiar, so therefore it's not really a good test. But at the end of that, while they're going around taking the sandwiches, one of us will be back in the kitchen quickly making sandwiches that we know they will like, and then we sit and we talk at the end of the group to build in some of that social time and social skills as well into the group. They have very limited awareness of personal space as well. And when signing and gesturing, people get very excited. And I know I have been known to do this and actually end up getting somebody in the face in the staff room, which is not ideal. So, there is an element of needing that kind of space around, even though you're supposed to sign in this window here, it sometimes goes out the window. I should have put a slide in about visual perception and organisation. I didn't, so I apologise for that. But this is an area that I often get called upon to do some work. And again, I get often asked to comment upon the impact of visual perception skills on learning a visual language. And if anybody has gems to share with me, I would be more than happy to hear them. Because whilst I have done some of that work and tried to pull it apart, things like wearing plain clothing when you're signing, so if there's a figure ground difficulty, then it might be hard to pick up the signs, or harder. Wearing darker clothes, things like that. You'll find interpreters are often dressed in black. It's an area that is, I'm not that comfortable with and still need to find out a bit more. I'm actually doing the Managing Visual Deficits and Understanding Vision course at the end of March, which I'm very excited about. But I do quite a bit of work around visual perception and some nice things around here in terms of age-appropriate things like the tangrams and the blocks and doing 3D patterns, the parquetry, obviously mazes and things like that. The mazes I will do a little bit of, but I will often set those for the students to do either in class or at home, or incorporate those in another way. Sometimes 3D mazes, masking tape on the floor in the classroom if I can get away with it. I've got a nice wobble board as well that encompasses kind of a maze and balance. So things like that are really key to. And there's also something I'm not familiar with, but there's a visual perception skill building DVD that Therapro sell as well.